The evolution of Varanasi through time, religious ideologies, and dynastic rule gave it a dense and diverse built environment. Its various roles as a holy city, pilgrimage, center of trade and commerce, place of knowledge, house to hermitages and saints, and finally the great cremation ground can be attributed for this. So there can be multiple ways of studying the built fabric of Varanasi. But the way I will be going forward is by talking at two scales. First, the macro planning of the city, which is a metaphysical idea of its sacred geometry, and then going to the micro, talking about the very essence of Varanasi, the physical manifestation of its diversity, the riverfront landscape. The symbol that condenses the whole into the part is common in Hindu world. The whole of the complexity of the divine may be visualized in a single multi-armed deity, or the whole of the universe may be depicted in the sacred circle of a cosmic map called a mandala. In a religious or ritual sense, a mandala is a sacred circle that represents the entire universe, its powers, its interrelations, and its center. They show the plan of the entire universe with its galaxies, its gods, and the orientation emphasized by the presence of the eight directions. Kashi is this kind of symbol which condenses the whole into a great sacred circle, a geographical mandala. The Panchakroshi road circles Kashi, forming the periphery of the mandala. Around its borders are a multitude of guardian deities. Within this outermost circle are increasingly smaller concentric circles, having Shiva as their common center in the city's inner sanctum, Vishwanath temple. All the sages, all the Tirthas of India, and all the gods have taken their position here within the sacred circle of Shiva. To follow the Panchakroshi road around Kashi is to circle the world. The Ganga riverfront has a deep sense of place since it catches up the historically developed socio religious ideals, values, consciousness of pilgrims, and their faith all together help to form a unique faithscape. Manifesting this is the 6-kilometer long riverfront of the Ganga, possessing a vision of magnificent row of buildings and holy ghats. Ghats have played an integral role in the built environment of Varanasi. Through centuries, Ghats as the interface between the city and Ganga have facilitated religious rites, trade, exchange of knowledge, even liberation. They have been catalyst for diurnal and seasonal spatial practices tied to the movement of sun, moon, and planets. The earliest description of Ghats is found from texts dating back to 2nd century CE. By 17th century, the riverfront landscape became prominent in the overall arena of Varanasi. Subsequently, various ashrams and palatial buildings were built along the Ghats. Since then, many Ghats have been reconstructed, renamed, and reshaped too. Today, there are 84 Ghats in Varanasi, among which the 5 described as the most merit giving and sacred, called Panchatirthas, are Assi, Dashashwamedh, Manikarnika, Panchganga, and Adi Keshav. We will try to understand their individual importance. Assi Ghat marks the southernmost Ghat. It finds its name from the small stream Assi, which formed the southern edge of Kashi and now exists as a mere nala. The Lolark Kund near this ghat is important. It is devoted to the worship of Aditya or sun god and even finds reference in the oldest Puranic literature. The Shashwamedh Ghat is the most important and active ghat in respect to historicity and continuity of traditions. The ghat is presumed to be the first recorded site associated with the Bharashiva Naga kings of the 2nd century CE. According to ancient mythology, Lord Brahma performed the Shashwamedh or 10-horse sacrifice at this site, hence the name. The oldest firmly dated ghat based on inscriptional evidence is Manikarnika Ghat. It was constructed in stone in 1302. Manikarnika Ghat is famous for cremation and has two parts, the southern for cremation and the north or downstream for other sacred activities. Here is also the temple of Tarakeshwara, the form of Shiva giving liberation. It is believed that during the Hindu month of Kartik, that is October and November, the waters of the river Ganga, Varana, Asi, Yamuna, and the two lost streams of Kirana and Dhuttapap meet at this ghat here, hence the name Panchaganga. The last and northernmost, that is 84th, Adi Keshav Ghat exists at the confluence point between Ganga and the Varana river. It was glorified in an inscription of the 11th century under the name of Videshwara Ghat. While steps are the dominant architectural feature of the Ghats, temple spires, fort walls, and marhi, which are octagonal structures dividing the steps into bays, appear in rhythm. The prototypical elements of architecture in the background, spires, bastions, charokas or balconies, appear again at lower levels, embedded in steps and landings, showcasing the continuous use of the same architectural language. The bastion of fort palaces, built to resist the flow of storming Ganga, are reflected in marhi. Temples in edicular shrines, and jharokas and pavilions in colonnades extruding from steps. The landscape of Ghats represents an amalgam of material and intangible heritage. The historical and vernacular landscape illustrates the juxtaposition of contrasting static and kinetic city. I would like to conclude with few lines from the book Banaras City of Lights. Writer Dinah L. Eck explains the difference between Banaras and its contemporaries. Its present life reaches back to 3000 years in a continuous tradition. If we could imagine the silent Acropolis and the Agora of Athens still alive with the intellectual, cultural, and ritual traditions of classical Greece, we might glimpse the remarkable tenacity of the life of Kashi. Today, Peking, Athens, Jerusalem are moved by a very different ethos from that which moved them in ancient times. But Kashi is not.